we had actually about 800 different little projects going on around the company. And we were making great progress on that. But when we stood back and looked at that, we said, look, we really want to have this in the hands of as many team members we could get. And so we started breaking down the 800 and we said, well, look, there's platforms here.
Welcome to Technovation. I'm your host, Peter High. My guest today is Doug Schmitt. Doug is the Chief Information Officer of Dell and the President of Dell Technologies Services. As CIO, he leads the company's technology investments, driving enterprise-wide digital transformation, AI adoption, and enablement, and IT modernization efforts to enhance security, agility, and operational efficiency. As President of Dell Technologies Services, he has full financial responsibility for the organization delivering consulting, deployment, managed services, support, and asset recovery solutions across Dell's product portfolio. He joined Dell in 1997. Doug, welcome to Technovation. It's great to speak with you today.
Well, Peter, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Well, let's begin with Dell's business. Certainly very few people who would be watching or listening to this would be would that be a new name for them? But nevertheless, it's a behemoth that is involved in a wide array of products and services. Take a quick moment, if you would, and provide a snapshot of the business as it is today, please.
Well, yes. Well, first of all, look, what Dell does really well is, first of all, listen to our customers. And from that, then we obviously innovate, develop, build, deliver great technology solutions for our customers. And that includes everything from our laptops, notebooks, desktops, workstations, servers, networking, storage, the great software, and then obviously, as you mentioned, our services that really provide solutions. All this is about delivering outcomes for our customers to meet their technology needs, as well as what their strategic technology roadmaps are. So that's a brief overview of you. As you can imagine, there's a lot to each of those. And currently, if you look at the innovation we have around AI, that has been something that our customers have been asking for, and we've been delivering for.
I look forward to getting more into that in a moment. Before we do, though, also, I wanted to ask you a bit about your role. I mentioned in the introduction a little bit about the bifurcation of responsibilities there, a CIO with some traditional CIO responsibilities, but also President of Dell Technologies Services. Talk a bit about your purview across those, as well as the advantages of having both of those within an individual executive.
Well, I started around 28 years ago. As I said that's like, that sounds like a long time, but it went by so fast. It's been an exciting time. And really, when I started, I was actually in the accounting side, then moved into the finance side. And 10, 15 years ago, moved into the services side of the business as we were growing and bringing all of these great technology innovations to our customers. When I joined the services side, we were really expanding and building at a rapid pace in terms of our global footprint. Different languages. We're now up in over 170 countries, 50 languages, delivering, as I said early in the opening about Dell, everything from notebooks all the way through the data center support, through the consulting, all the way to the support side of that. And so from there, as you said, about a year ago, actually took on the additional role of CIO. And look, the team construct is those are two separate teams, although we work very closely, obviously, together through that. And the idea really around it is, as you can imagine, as CIO and our tech team, IT team, we want to be customer zero for the great products that we produce and innovate. Arthur, obviously, with the XE AI servers, leveraging all of that great technology inside, as well as any of the other innovations that we're doing. And from there, we also can learn on the services side, because we help both sides of that, so that we're able to quickly deliver the outcomes that our customers want from that customer zero learning. So really, it kind of brings those things together. You get both views. You get the internal side of being customer zero, taking those learnings and quickly adapting that into the service side so we can deliver that for our customers.
Talk a bit about your pathway from somebody who studied finance and accounting, has an MBA, began in accounting, as you mentioned, 28 years ago, now the head of all the IT organization within the company. What was the pathway from there to here? Clearly, you're not an autodidact. You don't have a technical background from an education perspective, but presumably a lot of education in the various roles you've had that have made this an appropriate post for you now. Talk a bit about that career migration, if you would.
Well, yeah. Well, look, first of all, always had a deep love of technology from an early age. I can remember in the early '80s, programming, learning BASIC very early on in high school. And so always had that technology love. So, when I joined Dell, look, it doesn't matter what department or area you're inside of Dell. There's two things that are a constant. One is Michael likes to say we have big ears, and he's always said that. What that means is we listen to our customers. So you get to hear where their issues are at and how we can apply the technology to help them. So you learn very quickly about that. From an internal view, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You're always leveraging technology to find a better way, not only to help the customer, because a lot of that is what you're doing. You're leveraging that technology to be better, more productive, so that you're able to spend more time in front of the customers. That's just a core cultural value. So to me, they're not separate. We've always, regardless of what area you're in inside of Dell, you get to leverage the technology, learn from the technology as well as delivering it to the customer. But to be specific, look, I moved from central finance into what we call a field role. What that was helping sales and at the time services from a financial perspective. Got to learn a tremendous amount being in front of customers and had a deep passion for wanting to carry on that further. So I moved from the finance team into the services team and actually started in service parts logistics, where you can learn about technology down to just the nano pieces and parts of things. And from there, just continued to grow with great leaders here and learn additional things that I could do to help customers and carry that forward.
Fascinating. Well, we talked about the two sides of your role and responsibilities. Is your team also divided in that similar way? Talk a bit about how the people who report to you, how they are structured given the different responsibilities that you have, Doug.
Well, we're one team. In other words, I have like one staff, and obviously integrated also with our sales and our PG and ISG teams as well. So, but when you look at that, when on a day-to-day basis, we have a service delivery team, everything from sales all the way to the support side and everything in between. And then from an IT, you have the kind of a traditional structure, everything from the chief architect that we have all the way through the infrastructure and the delivery, obviously integrated into the business units, because that's what this is about, is making sure that we're putting that cutting edge technology in the hands of all team members so that we're able to be more productive. But as we work as a team, we're able to see and take learnings from projects that we're driving on the IT side and quickly adapt those onto the service side to deliver. So think of a deployment, right, of the AI servers. We internally deploy those. We have service people working with the IT people to do those deployments. We're taking those learnings, best practices, and quickly moving them into the services business. Think about that multiplied many, many times every single day. And that's really the value there.
You mentioned already, and for good reason, multiple times, the ascent of artificial intelligence and the fact that the company's collective big ears have been hearing a lot about the necessity for investments in and leadership there from clients, from customers. I know from our past conversations that you focused on the development of AI platforms, four of them specifically that are already driving value within the organization. I wonder if you could provide an overview of each of those and the value you are in fact deriving from them.
If you take a look at that, maybe I'll take a step back and talk about the journey we as a company made. Because look, this is a team sport in terms of anything that we do around here. In this particular case, obviously Jeff Clark, you have John Rose, our Chief Technical Officer and Chief AI Officer, Arthur, many others. But if you took kind of step back 3 years ago, we had many kind of points of AI testing, people using AI, actually about 800 different little projects going on around the company. And we were making great progress on that. But when we stood back and looked at that, we said, look, we really want to have this in the hands of as many team members we could get, making large progress that allows us to move very quickly. And so we started breaking down the 800 and we said, well, look, there's platforms here, right? If you think about this, like a coding assistant, AI coding assistant, that covers upwards to over 16,000 people internally that are coding, developing products. And so we said, well, let's put a AI platform in for that. That way everybody can use it. We'll scale it, we'll leverage it, we'll keep it flexible so we can move quickly if we have to change that platform. We all know how fast AI is changing in these environments. The second place we looked at then was services. And we have a internally developed AI platform called Nest Best Action. The thing to think about this is taking all the knowledge articles, all the information that's out there we have, the telemetry from our systems, our technology, putting all of that together so that when we need to help a customer, it is very quick to resolution, very little repeats. We're down to very, very low single digits. And then the time to resolve it has improved greatly. And then putting that technology, that service technology on the web, obviously, and in the hands of our customers. So look, we still want them, if they need to call us, we're there. If they need to chat with us, we're there. But a lot of customers want to do that online, and that's there for them as well. Then taking all that information and feeding it very quickly back to the product teams, and they're leveraging it to build even greater products. So that whole ecosystem works very, very well. That was the second one. The third one is the great work that Kevin Brown, our chief supply chain officer, has built around his team and leveraging an AI platform on there. And you can imagine right now having a great deal of flexibility and knowledge at your fingertips with supply chain AI has really helped and given us a competitive advantage. And then the fourth one was Sales Chat. And Sales Chat is the platform that allows all of our sellers to have access very quickly to all the latest developments, products, to bring together information to get at their fingertips. So when they're in front of the customers, they have the latest, greatest information. Can also help pull things like decks together and just take a lot of steps out. So that journey from looking at a bunch of kind of points on AI, bringing that to platforms, then leveraging platforms very quickly. So we got that across a wide base of our team members.
Yeah, very interesting. And I know that you're now getting more involved into AI agents, and I wonder if you could talk a bit about what excites you as you contemplate expansion into that territory.
Well, yeah, I mean, clearly now we have the agents inside of that we can add to these platforms, and we'll continue to add platforms as well across the company. But agentic is exciting to me for a whole host of reasons. One is, let's go back to just me personally, if I can. Look, spending time in front of the customers, helping them to leverage technology to deliver the outcomes they're looking for. That's the exciting piece about getting up in the morning. And so if I can get rid of transactions that I'm doing around work to have me spend more time in front of the customers, that's a huge win for a host of reasons. One is I get rid of the transaction, but I get to spend more time doing what I love. And so agents are going to help us all do that, remove transactional work that's being done so that we can spend the value time that we all have inside of our business. Now, if you're a teacher, spending more time teaching. If you're a doctor, having the data there so you can spend more time in front of patients. Agentic, first of all, that's how to think about that. We are leveraging that now specifically in many different places, but I'm going to talk about the services side. Where are steps like dispatching a part, right? You have to dispatch a part. How do we leverage agentic to make that as seamless as possible for our internal tech engineers or our customers if they're online? And so I think putting those together, then obviously you get agentic, you're going to have a great ability to really stand back and look at the processes that are inside and how do you streamline those again, to spend time where is more valuable needed.
Fascinating to see what might be to come, and looking forward to remaining abreast of that continued progress. Doug, speaking of artificial intelligence, I think to many it seems as though this is a topic that's only a few years old, at least as it's become more part of the popular conscience. But I know that you and your team have been making significant investments for years now, planting seeds that have been growing even before the more recent release of agentic AI and the more popular use of it. Talk a bit about some of the investments that you've made and the ways in which that's parlayed into advantage for Dell.
Yeah, I think one example would be on services. If you look back about 7, 8 years ago, we actually started looking at the structured data that we had, which was really, a tremendous amount of, think of your install base, then we had the telemetry coming back, and we were saying, how do we improve this process, again, for delivering a better service to our customers? And so what we did is we said, okay, well, look, we got to go standardize our processes and digitize our processes. So we actually have around 7 to 8,000 digitized processes in services. And the way to think about that is, I remember always the old days using Visio when I was in my younger days, and think about putting that in a digital process where you can track real time that structured data in the process, and the happy path. The happy path is the path of least resistance with the best experience for the customer. And so we started doing that. And from there, what we said is, okay, we have this information, and how are we going to leverage that to improve the overall process? So we actually started hiring data scientists, data engineers, data architects to start working with that. And from there, we were able to start leveraging software that allowed us to really shrink the standard deviation and move the mean with structured data. And we've been carrying that further, and we very quickly learned about how to make sure we manage the data very quickly. By the way, that's the fuel for AI. And I can tell you that's keeping that clean, making sure you manage that, you have structure around it, and the labeling is very important. And then, look, I won't go through every single piece of it, but as you went through that journey and delivering that, we really started adding machine learning and AI to those processes. When what I'm going to call the unstructured data, AI over the last few years that we've been hearing about, that unstructured data really just turbocharged all of that. So we were now able to take things like a customer satisfaction survey, that unstructured data that's in there, and quickly improve the processes, not in a matter of days or months, but in hours. And so quickly adjust our processes, find out what wasn't determining right. And that's really the basis for the next best action platform then that we were able to make sure we're leveraging for our tech engineers, and then making sure it's online for our customers as well.
I wanted to also ask you, Doug, as someone who leads a services arm within this organization and has reason to speak with so many customers, what do you see as some of the differentiators among those companies that are able to ride the waves of innovation, and especially related to AI and the pace at which the change is happening, versus those that are less successful? Do you find that there are some differentiating factors that you can highlight?
Look, the customers are obviously, a lot of the customers all have their own paths or different paths, but one common denominator is innovation and leveraging technology. I think the one thing about AI, how I tend to think about it is, look, this isn't just a technology platform that we're leveraging. It's a business model change as well that's being driven by technology. And you can think about these things in different ways, but it's a way to stand back and say, how do you deliver the outcomes, whatever it may be? Again, if you're in the educational institution, educating students, if you're in the medical profession, taking care of patients, how do you look at this technology to deliver a better outcome for your end result? And so AI allows us to relook at those business models, and how do we innovate? How do we take a holistic view of that, leveraging the technology? There's a couple of things that really help with that. One is speed. Two is experimentation and building models. having what you need to do in terms of a clear route and path. So we spend a lot of time working with customers on the consulting side, laying out what opportunities do they see, how can we get the value of that, is the data available, can we make sure that we can move at the speed you want. It takes a lot of management, meaning in terms of being involved in those processes, understanding where the processes are at so you can get the outcome. But I would say most of all, what we've seen with our customers is they've been all in on this. We've had over 3,000 customers go through our AI factory internally where they're building, developing, and leveraging AI real time. So it's been great to see.
Incredible to hear you say that. I wonder also, you talk about the need for speed and for experimentation. As you think about finding ideas that scale, for an organization like yours, it is already a massive organization. So as you think about the need to find the next tranche of new revenue, new opportunity associated with this, how do you ensure that the experimentation and the proofs of concept, perhaps that yield from that a certain percentage of them are actually going to then bear fruit that can move the needle on an organization as large as yours?
Great question. And by the way, that's a company-wide process that John Rose, as I said, and myself lead for the company. And look, what that's about is taking a look at those. So you have different projects that are listed as, let's say, an experimental project. That's fine. We're going to get behind it, work with the team members. We track it. Once it moves from there into, okay, we're ready to leverage it production, we obviously work very quickly as a corporate team, meaning both IT, John Rose, wherever we're at, whether it's sales, whether it's supply chain, to quickly help implement that from an end-to-end perspective. We also make sure that we're leveraging and learning from the results so we can fine-tune anything to happen real time. And John and I lead that literally every other week. Everyone's, by the way, can join and ask and work for those projects. We then track them very succinctly, if you can imagine going through that. And where we see and where we implement these and we see success, we carry it across the company then very quickly. And I think so having that process in place and then working with our team members and opening it up to everyone is where the success comes from.
As you look to the future, Doug, are there any other trends that really excite you that you think might have the possibility of being kind of the next wave of innovation for an organization like yours?
You start to think about physical AI. A way to think about that one to me would be around things like robotics or things that will carry on AI for all of us, right? That is exciting to me. I think about all the different things that we're going to be able to do. Just personally, I told you I've always loved technology. I think about where that's going to go with the AI, the physical AI and the robotics. And then I think about the next step is things like general autonomy. Think about artificial intelligence across a range of domains, the proficiency that'll bring, combined with things like agentic, and then the physical AI, I think are going to be a lot of great opportunities again to help people in their everyday lives as well as the work that they're doing.
I look forward to continued advancement from that perspective as well. I wanted to also ask you here at the close, Doug, anything that you've recently read, watched, and or listened to that you'd recommend to others?
From a book perspective, I'm just finished reading The War That Made the Roman Empire. I love history, so I just finished reading that. That's by a guy by the name of Barry Strauss. And that's really about the interplay between Octavian, Anthony, and Cleopatra, and just kind of some of the dynamics there. So interesting on that. And then look, podcast. I go on walks a lot in the evening and listen to podcasts if I can have the time. And so in that particular case, I listened to, I told you and I talked about Rob Carter from FedEx, who I think is a pioneer in the IT industry. And then look, John Rose, I just listened to his podcast as well around AI. So always something to listen to, can learn additional information. So those have been some of the latest.
That's great. Well, Doug, thank you so much for a great conversation. Fascinating to hear about this broad set of responsibilities you have and the ways in which you are leveraging this remarkable and strategic perch to great advantage for Dell. It's been a great conversation. Thank you.
Appreciate you having me, Peter.